Next thing on the list of stuff to do is the belt housing and also the part that holds the motor. So there's a long screw with a long bushing on it. I don't really know why, to be honest. I think it's just to make it a little bit easier to adjust the belt tension without having to take off the front cover, because you'll see later that you can kind of get access to it, but it's just a little bit weird if you ask me, because it's 4 screws to take out the, I don't know. Anyway, so there's 2 screws that hold this on, 2 bolts that hold this on. One over here in a slot that can rotate, and then obviously this one in the middle. And the reason that this can rotate is because this is how you set the belt tension. The next piece here goes on the back, and that is for mounting the motor on. And again, this is kind of the same sort of a deal where these can move around wherever you want within these slotted areas. So that allows for the adjustment for the motor. All right, next up, I'm going to get the bottom pulley installed. And here's that bottom pulley. It's a 3 groove, so there's actually 3 belts that run on this. And I mean, it's a much larger shaft diameter on the end of the cutter head than there is on the motor. So it's pretty easy to tell which one goes where, but it's the smaller one that goes on the cutter head. And there is a key that goes in place there. And then there's a heavy washer and a bolt that goes on there. And then I've got an original belt, which measured in at 27 inches. But then I've also got a pair of new belts to try. One of them measured at, the dimensions of it were 26 and a half. And then the dimensions on the other one was 27 3/4. So I'll have to try these out and just see if any of these will work. And go from there, I guess. Okay. Now we are up to the motor, which is not all that light. And that goes through there. And then we've got some nuts and bolts that'll hold that in place. I'm going to just do these finger tight for now, because I might have to adjust which way, or I might have to adjust the motor forward and back to get the pulleys aligned. So for now, I'm just going to get these on there so I don't have to worry about it falling off by doing something stupid. It happens on occasion. And then we can get the other pulley installed and go from there. So, just like everything else, this also has a key, and the pulley goes on there. And unlike the bottom one that's held in place with the key and a bolt from the end, this one actually has 2 set screws. One that just tightens against the shaft, and then one that tightens against the key. So there's one, you can kind of see it there, and then there's one 90 degrees opposed to it there. So make sure you get those tightened down. And I suppose this would probably be a little bit easier if you did it before installing the motor, but where's the fun in that? Something with a straight enough edge for me. Yeah, and see, like that, I'm way off on that, so I got to move the motor back. Keep it going. before you ask, yes, the pulley is seated all the way. All right, I'm going to start with that and go from there. Seems to be pretty close so far. Now we will see if we can get these guys on there, or if we'll have to, yeah, definitely gonna have to change the tensioning on that a little. Now we've got a cover plate, and this does have a specific way. This is slanted, and you kind of just line it up with that. And this is what I was talking about before, like, so you can access this bolt if you need to tilt it, but I'm not exactly sure why you would need to tilt it, unless it's just for, like, changing the knives or something. Actually, you know what, now that I think about it, that must be it. So when you go to change the knives on this thing, or in my case, carbide inserts, I'm pretty sure that's what that's for. So you could just loosen this one, loosen that one, tilt it forward without screwing up your belt tension, and then you can go ahead and change the knives if you need to and get good access to the cutter head. So that's what that was for. So then there's this little spring that holds down the chip deflector. So that just goes on here. Again, 2 more little bolts that go through that. Okay, so now I've got the switch partially disassembled because there is a hole here and a hole here that this bracket screws into. So in order to get to those, I had to take off part of the switch. I didn't disconnect it or anything because I don't really have to do that. I just have to be able to access the screws enough to be able to get it in there. So that's what I'm doing now. Then I can go ahead and put this back together. And I thought I had an in-between size for this, but I seem to be mistaken. So this is a little bit too large of a little loop here, but essentially this just goes through, or around, I guess, the power cord to kind of keep it from getting tangled into anything. And now I should note that this will have to come out because the top plate that kind of goes over here uses this screw. So this will be removed and then put back in order to install the top chip or chute, I guess, the top panel. So that'll come out, so I'm not too worried about it for now, but I just wanted to get it there so I don't forget about it, even though, like I said, I do kind of need to get a smaller one. So with that, I think I should probably plug it in and fire it. That's actually way quieter than I thought it would be. I mean, obviously I haven't run any wood through it yet, but I mean, just running it. Actually, you know what? We'll just go take a field trip over to my other planer And without running any wood through that, I'll just fire that thing up and let you hear just how loud that thing is. Okay, so this is my Parks 12-inch planer, and that's what the 15-inch over there is going to be replacing. So let's fire this one up and we can just compare how loud this one is. So I mean, that's not to say that this is a bad planer or that I don't like it, because I do actually like this planer. It's done pretty well for me, and I don't really have any major complaints. The only thing is that the price was right on that one, and it's wider and can do more height-wise. So I guess it was a pretty easy decision to say, yeah, I'll take it. And this one will end up going up for sale because I don't really think I have a use for two planers kicking around.